Okay, all right. My guest today is Davey from Dallas. We're talking about the Bible. We're talking about the Talmud, and I want to get back and on the second half here. I want to talk about Ken Vardon. Ken Vardon started the APFN, and it sounds to me like they've done the same thing to Ken Vardon that they tried to do to me, but I wasn't quite as weak as they expected me to be. I wasn't quite as helpless as they thought I'd be after feeding me the drugs for 3 months. But also what you're talking about the Talmud, about the whole saying I'm a Judeo-Christian is about the same as saying I'm a satanic Christian. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
And you are the one that sat in the back seat of my truck and educated my sons.
That was a precious moment there, Clay.
Yes, it was. I remember.
Trevor, he reminds me of Sean Connery, really and truly. You know, and I think about it, you know, over there in the Old Testament when Elijah had that Super Bowl championship cook-off over there, and they made the decision which God they were going to serve that day, and they took those 400 Baal priests down to the brook and slaughtered them. If people in America had a chance to, cast their ballot for a leader, and they had the choice between Sean Connery and Chucky Schumer or Alan Dershowitz, I mean, who in their right mind would choose a fork-tongued little pervert like Alan Dershowitz?
Washington's a few of them, Arlen Specter, he hated me during the presidential contest when I was working with Charles Collins. I would walk down the aisle while Arlen Specter was speaking and go, Arlen, tell us about that magic bullet, Arlen.
That's great. I mean, they got so much chutzpah. I mean, they're going to, come on. I was trying to send Tom a message. He's actually done a lot of good over the years, and I'm talking about Tom Valentine. And, just having that radio show. Clay, what else is, I was headed from Ken's house to your house that day, and I went through Sholo, and it was just a couple of days later that they murdered Bill Cooper.
Bill and I had talked. We had met there at his house up on that hill in Eager. I was able to pet his dog and admire his guns, and we decided that we were going to work together. We were going to put Veritas and the Free American together, and 2 weeks later they killed him.
I mean, this country has got so many good people in it. There's absolutely no reason to continue to tolerate this insanity.
Well, it happened to me. It happened to Bill Cooper. It happened to Gordon Call. It happened to Randy Weaver, and now it's going to start happening to a lot more Americans when they bring them in. I've always told them. I've always at least said and believed that we were training our troops in Iraq to handle the citizens of America.
That was this goes way back even to the 80s when they were doing all that in Central America. It's just astonishing the level of sheep-like stupidity of the American people. And Clay, Veterans Today website has done a real good job, especially since that Breivik shooting over there in exposing the Freemasonry in this country. I've actually done extensive study in this area, and the fact is Freemasonry comes from Talmudic Judaism, and it is literally a satanic religion. And there's not a county in this country that is not infected with Freemasonry. I mean, we're just going to have to call it what it is. And the fact is, we got a lot of house cleaning to do. That's really what Matthew 13 is all about. The parable of the wheat and the tares. It's time to harvest the tares, people. It's time to saddle up and ride and harvest the tares. Now, this is a spiritual dimension of reality. And Clay, sometime, hopefully in the very near future, we can really get into the specifics on that. But people have to gird their minds and their loins and get ready to do real battle. And that's really what's happening now. People are afforded the opportunity in this time phase to judge themselves. The Matthew chapter 7, they can read that and study it, but you know, people have a chance to judge themselves first, and that's what's happening now. And so it's time for people to choose which God they're going to serve, the God of truth or the God of lies. And there's no debate on planet Earth about who the God of the liars is and who the liars are. They print the currency, they own the media, they'll operate a crack house called Congress. You know, hands down, they convicted themselves. They're sticking out like a sore thumb.
Well, look, we've just had 97 senators in Washington vote to abolish posse comitatus, to allow Americans to be picked up and held without a trial. So they have just destroyed the whole Bill of Rights with this. And they've been doing it, I mean, like you said, they had it during Waco, they had it set up. That wasn't extensive enough. They've done the Project for the New American Century. That was written by all the top-level Jews, Rabbi Dov Zakheim, who provided the planes that they flew into the World Trade Center to give Larry Silverstein a few billion in what I referred to as an exaggerated case of Jewish lightning. And that's what I don't know whether they tried to kill me for that or for the Liberty Village concept, because the Liberty Village, you remember what Richard Kelly Hoskins used to say, the foundation of every civilization is the self-sufficient family farm?
That's exactly right, and all wealth comes from the land.
That's right.
And the truth is, you know, we're vessels here, and we're like transducers, and you know, that's the thing about it. The Almighty, you know, our language has been so corrupted, but the Almighty can just shoot us all kinds of energy that we have to use, and that's really what Jesus was talking about. It's just people's brains are so small, and they're so focused on little bitty stuff that doesn't matter, they can't open their mind to all the power that we do have, because he said, these things and greater will you be able to do. And that's the thing about this prison planet concept, that we, you know, they want us locked into this Talmudic dungeon where we can only accept what they tell us because they have the authority, because they print the currency. They run the crack house that makes all the rules. It's insane. There's no reason to live in that insane asylum dungeon, Talmudic terrorist poop hole.
You know, you used to be able to pay your taxes with hemp. When they took out hemp, that was the second strike at the American farmer.
Oh man, you know, this has been a calculated terrorist campaign going back before even 1913. You know, I mean, it's a 6,000-year war. You know, they tormented Eustace Mullins his whole life too. You know what I mean?
I know you. I was talking with Eustace up until the day he was finally died, or if they finally got to him. He's you know, he was harassed. They would break into his house when he would go to the store. They did the same thing to me. They stole every gun, every weapon, right down to bows and arrows that I had in my house when I went to the store.
Astonishing, the level of criminality that goes on right under the noses of the ever-watchful eyes of our, you know, well-paid-for so-called police departments. You know what I mean? It's just astonishing.
Well, it's kind of a drag, and you know, Ayn Rand had it right too, Davey. She said government has no power over honest citizens, so they got to make criminals out of us. And right now, the level. Let me see if I think I've got, somebody's done some research on it. The number of people in prisons now, it's like 1 in every 17 children. There's TSA is now responsible for over 9,000 unannounced checkpoints in the last year, security checkpoints. And we've got, let's see if I've got this. This whole thing, local cops are getting ready for war with Homeland Security funded military weapons.
Yeah, then brainwashed by the ADL.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on, we got 30 million invaders in our country, not to mention the terrorists that print the currency and own the media and Hollywood and all the casinos in Vegas. You know, come on, people.
It's pretty incredible, and what we're seeing happen here. I mean, we've got more people in prison right now than Stalin did in Russia at the height of this madness and that they suffered in Russia.
That's another thing about the headlines today too, because actually one of the things that I really do like about Ron Paul is his honesty about this so-called drug war. What an insane notion to begin with, but at least he can calmly and politely tell the American people this is an insane idea to begin with. As a doctor.
That's right. He has said that. Matter of fact.
And he's actually delivered babies. He hasn't been out there killing babies for profit. Innocent people who haven't even been prosecuted for mass murder, but innocent babies. Come on. And he has a record in so-called Congress of not voting for unconstitutional regulations and legislation. So he has a credible record to run on.
I have 4 videos for Ron Paul up on my website above my show. You can go there and hear my show right now. You can hear this show. But above my show, I've got Ron Paul over there. We've got, he is the only one out there that is on our side. I think he's on our side.
Just for a moment here, they want to tarnish him as being a racist. And I'm going to tell you something, Clay. I didn't turn into a rabid racist until I worked in a prison for juveniles in Memphis, Tennessee. And what he's talking about all these little black boys in prison, that is a crime against the Almighty. That should not be happening. They are tortured in there. They are bent and twisted into a life that is totally unnatural, and it is not right. And it should not be happening, just like murdering innocent little babies.
I've told people for years, and I wrote a book about it 40 years ago, sitting in prison doing time for possession of marijuana in Texas when it was a life sentence, a 99-year sentence for a little bit of pot that you can get in 10 states now with a doctor's prescription. But listen to Ron Paul. You mentioned Ron Paul. Listen for just a moment.
Or at TV, the world is thinking.
Now this is available on my website, folks.
There's another war that's been going on for a good many years, but especially since the early 70s. We have spent hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars on this particular war, but it's been war on American citizens more than it's been a war to change these conditions. And that is the war on drugs, which has been a complete, total failure.
Well,
the war has led.
I would have to disagree with him. It depends on your viewpoint. If the war's a failure, if it was really to stop drugs, if it's a war to put people in concentration camps, into forced labor camps, into prisons, to destroy their ability to ever have a gun or have a vote, then the war was a life. Then their war was a great success, wasn't it?
That's exactly right. It kind of depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Yes,
sir. Now wait a minute. Let's hear a little bit more here, folks. I want you to understand. I've told you for years now that the drug war was an excuse to steal our #1 cash crop, what they referred to in the 30s as a $1 billion crop. And if you'll excuse me, I'll smoke a bowl while I'm listening to this.
War on drugs has led us to a condition where the states pass laws that say that if you happen to be ill, you are sick, you're getting chemotherapy, you have AIDS, and you get benefit by smoking marijuana, and the law permits you to do it, which should be permissible in a republic. No, the federal government actually arrests sick people in the name of compassionate conservatism and putting people in prison.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was really excited, Davey, when we passed medical marijuana here in Arizona. I was on the radio just cackling, you know, yeah, man, all right, for the first time in 40 years, I'm not going to be a criminal. Turns out that because I've been smoking it for 40 years, I'm too healthy to get a prescription.
Well, doggone it anyhow, Clay. There's always a catch.
I tell you, you know, I mean, people go and say, well, just lie, Clay, just lie. You know, you can just tell them that your back hurts. You can just I'm sorry. I have a moral prohibition against lying. I've told my sons that you know both of them. Two things are you can kill somebody. You got a good reason behind it. I'll be for you. I'll be backing you all the way. But I won't tolerate a liar or a thief.
You know, used to we had the boys who went to West Point had that credo of will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do.
That's right. Now, let me jump back here. I mean, folks, I'm telling you, if you don't get behind Ron Paul, I've seen so-called patriots on these chat rooms trying to say, oh, Ron Paul, he's a Mason, he did this, he did that. Well, so what? George Washington was a Mason, probably Thomas Jefferson was a Mason, and I know lawyers out there that are Masons. But that don't mean they're worshiping a Lucifer. That means they're trying to infiltrate and take over. I don't want to destroy the New World Order. I want to run it. I want to take it over.
I think that's a little beyond most people's ability to comprehend at this point. But you know,
I wrote a book about it 40 years ago. You know, I've got that kind of attitude. I'm the kid in the first grade class. When asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, I said king.
Well, the teacher. We should all be born with that notion, you know, because you know the truth is in the scriptures we're commanded to think as kings and priests. I mean, you know, we got a choice, but our language has been so butchered by these truth-hating terrorists. It's you know, hey Clay, you know what always puzzled me, Clay? How these people could get out there and run around in a circle for 40 years, you know? I mean, that would puzzle me greatly. And eventually I just came to the conclusion that it was a God thing. God had them out there wandering around in a circle for 40 years because he was dealing with them. And, you know, you know, one of the most incredibly profound statements is those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
You know, that's why in the Free American, every month in the Free American for the last 15 years, since 1994, I've had a history lesson. I've gone back, and matter of fact, right now on Blog TV, we got about 20 people watching on Blog TV. We'll get more before the day's over. You scroll down, you can read and listen to the statements that Hitler and some high-level Germans made before the First World War. Everything they're talking about, the international banksters, is happening right here, right now in the United States, but we don't. And Obama is positioned to become. Yeah, we would be the next Jews. We would be the Israelites that the New World Order taken over, run by Homeland Security, just like they ran the NKVD, and it's coming against you now. I've always referred myself as a canary in the coal mine. They've made it broader now. If you listen to Clay Douglas, if you got a Ron Paul sticker on your bumper, then you must be a criminal too, right?
I'm gonna have to check off, Clay.
Okay, you're out of time.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Great show. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you being with me. Bye-bye now.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Okay. Davey's gone. Davey from Dallas, been listening to me for a long time, helping Ken Vardon. And the situation seems to be under control. But you need to be aware of this is what they do. They want to put instead of putting our old people on a porch, making them comfortable and letting them teach our children, our grandchildren, we're stuffing them in nursing homes and rest homes where they're making millions of dollars off of keeping them locked up and getting the government to pay for them. That's what's really happening. That's what's happening to Ken Vardon. That's what they tried to do with me. And let's jump back here to Ron Paul talking about him. You know, this is another thing. Oh, Clay's a pothead. Oh, yeah, I've been doing a show for over 20 years. And I probably smoked a bowl before everyone.
But some say, well, it's dangerous. You might do other things, and there's a danger to you in what you do with your own body. Yeah, you know, I made a comment once in a speech on the House floor. I said, yes, some of the strongest drug warriors in Washington, D.C. rant and rave about the possibility of a sick person using marijuana for their illness at the same time. But guess what? They have no hesitation to imbibe in that drug called alcohol, a more dangerous drug.
I've been smoking for a long time, and I've never ran off the road and buried my car in a lake and left somebody to drown in it. Oh, that would be Ted Kennedy, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. By the way, Ron Paul was a subscriber of the Free American to the Free American for about 10 years, I believe. We've met, we've talked to each other in my booth in one of the places where we were both speaking.
But the drug war has caused us to do so many foolish things. Not only it's a violation of freedom of choice and taking your own risks, it violates the concept of states' rights and state legislation, but it also has done something rather weird in many ways. This whole idea, and it's only recent, it's in the lifetime of many of us here. It was the first federal law against the use of marijuana occurred in 1937, I believe. 1937. Before that, people did use that. States had right to regulate, but it's a recent onset. But during the war, it was important that a related plant to marijuana called hemp was used. They were encouraged to grow it. It was useful in the war efforts. You can make clothes and medical problems and food products out of hemp. But we are obsessed and confused. And what does the federal government do? If you go out and plant hemp plants, you're going to go to jail. What's going on? And they'll tell you, oh no, it's a drug. Somebody might smoke it. But you know what? To get high on a hemp cigarette, the cigarette has to be big as a telephone pole. This is a very, very serious issue. And the last thing I ever want to leave anybody with is that I think drugs are safe. I think drugs are very dangerous. I think illegal drugs, the ones that are currently illegal, are very, very dangerous, and we should be very cautious about it. But I also, as a physician, recognize of the great danger of prescription drugs.
All right.
What about the government mandating mental health testing for all our school kids? And when they run these pilot programs, they find that 10% of our students really need help with these psychotropic drugs. That's the kind of drug regulation that we need. We need to stop that. But this whole issue of hemp is rather fascinating, not only in the idea of personal choices and states' rights, but also the stupid complications that come from it. So what do? We talk about our energy problems, and we do because government's too much involved. They subsidize one form of energy and they prohibit the other form of energy. They put roadblocks in front of nuclear energy, and then they go and subsidize raising corn to make ethanol, which doesn't make any economic sense. Now, the Brazilians know how to make ethanol from sugarcane, and they can actually sell us ethanol made in Brazil cheaper than we can make it from corn in this country. But what happened? We put a tariff on it to punish you, so you have to pay more for it.
All right, that's Ron Paul talking. And folks, let me see here. Okay, we got that done. No, actually, I don't want to do that. I ain't going to play anything else. Folks, I want to tell you, I got a little special on. If you send me an email, or send me $20, a $20 donation, today, just today, I'm just going to do this today, I will send you a copy of Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon, New World Order Unveiled. Got the whole story of Operation Watchtower, CIA, drug dealing, Christian identity, the whole bit there. I'll send it to you as a PDF, and you can forward that as a Christmas gift to people you care about. Every 20 bucks gets you one PDF, but I don't care. You can send it to 100 people. I mean, you want the hard copy, you got to come through me. But to get the PDF right now, send me $20 for a donation. Consider it a Christmas present. And I will send you the PDF. You'll have it for Christmas. And we don't have to pay the post office. We don't have to pay UPS. Just between you and me. If you appreciate what I've been doing, what I've been trying to do, if you appreciate the information, now this is going to be on up on YouTube, and you need to tell your friends about it. I've got banners up on the Free American. I'm talking about volunteers. I need some help here. I want you to become a distributor for me. All right. Tell people about it.
He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
I'll keep my freedom, I'll keep my guns, try to keep my money and my religion too.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
I'm going to keep my big VA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the Free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need. We know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA, and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com.